This is the Jillian Grace Show, Vibrational Architect. I teach the discipline of redesigning the internal patterns that shape your love, your relationships, and the life you quietly know you were meant to live. Whether you're moving through familiar emotional cycles or you're a high achiever who senses there's more available to you, you're in the right place. This is where people learn to master the architecture of their lives and release the patterns holding them back from their inner blueprint. Each episode ends with a guided transmission to anchor the vibration we're working with so you can fully step into becoming the architect of your own life. Join me, Jillian Grace, as we pull back the layers and rebuild the vibration you were always meant to live from. Hello, and welcome back to the Jillian Grace Show. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that every single person listening has lived through, but most people don't understand until they're standing in the rubble of a moment that could have been avoided. And this isn't just something that you may have personally gone through. This may be something that you've watched someone that you know or someone that you loved go through. And it can be so challenging. But really, what we're talking about is growth opportunities. The ones that life gives you quietly, gently, repeatedly, and what happens when you ignore them. We're talking about the architecture of avoidance, the escalation of karma, and the moment the lesson becomes so undeniable that you can't bypass it. You can't outrun it, and you can't pretend you didn't know. This episode is about the wall. It's the wall you hit when you avoided the truth for too long. It's the wall that stops you in your tracks. It's the wall that shows up when you refuse to do the inner work to make sure that you're aligned with what your soul intends. It's the wall that forces you to face what you didn't want to face. It's the wall that shows you the cost of your own avoidance. And this happens for all of us because I want every one of you to understand that the objective of why you're here on this planet, why you're on earth, why you are a soul is to grow. And it's to grow from so many different levels. And when you stop growing and you refuse to face that growth, you will face a moment of it all needing to be addressed. No one can outrun that. And I want to be really clear. When this happens, life is not punishing you. Life is actually protecting you. It's keeping you on course with what you need to do in order to be the soul that you're here to be. But protection doesn't always feel gentle. Protection sometimes feels like collapse. It sometimes feels like consequence. Sometimes protection feels like karma getting very loud. And today we're going to talk about how to avoid that level of intensity, not by bypassing your lessons, but by meeting them early so you don't have these huge explosions and you don't have that reckoning at the end. Because I guarantee you, the universe is going to give you many opportunities before you hit the major wall to get that lesson and integrate it seamlessly if you're listening, if you're willing, and if you can get out of ego enough in order to step into it. So first, the early warnings. Life never drops you a karmic explosion without warning. It starts small. It starts with discomfort, a nudge, a knowing, a pattern repeating, a conversation you don't want to have, a truth you don't want to admit, a boundary you don't want to set, a behavior you know isn't aligned, a feeling in your gut that says this matters, a moment when you begin to choose from a place that isn't what you'd want others to do, but you feel like you have to because there's no other way. These are not random moments. These are interventions. Life gives you early opportunities so you can grow without pain. You can grow without fallout. You can grow without the collateral damage. But most people don't take them. And not because they're bad people, not because you're irresponsible, but because the early invitations feel optional. And that's why it's so important to have enough self-awareness to know what the early invitations feel like, because they can save you so much in the end, and they can change the trajectory of your entire soul path if you use your free will to channel it in to the right directions in the first place. Most people feel like, I'll deal with that later, or it's not that big of a deal, or I don't want to rock the boat, or I don't want to hurt anybody, or I can't face this yet. And so you push it away. You delay it. You randomize it. You pretend you don't know, but your soul knows. Your body knows. Your intuition knows. And the universe knows you know. And also, in this state, A lot of times, people blame what's going on outside of them. And the rule of thumb about the energy and the frequency of what's in your universe at any given moment, the outer world is never going to be where your issues in lie. It's the inner world and how you're focusing that inner world that is causing the outer world to reflect back to you. And until that inner world is changed, the outer world will never shift. And staying as karmically responsible in that process is key. So, next, how avoidance creates karma. So, karma isn't punishment, it's cause and effect. And when you avoid a lesson, you create a vacuum, a space where consequences begin to gather. Every time you ignore the truth, every time you silence your intuition, every time you choose comfort over integrity, every time you delay the inevitable, the karmic pressure increases. It's like a pot on the stove. The heat is low at first, you barely notice it, but the longer you leave it unattended, the more pressure builds, and eventually it boils over. Not because the universe is angry, because you refused to turn down the heat when you had the chance. This is how karmic explosions happen. They are the natural result of delayed truth, delayed accountability, delayed action, delayed integrity. And here's the part that stings. You don't get to walk away unscathed because the explosion is not the lesson. The explosion is the accumulation of every moment you avoided the lesson leading up to that moment. The collateral damage and the cost of avoidance. When you avoid a lesson long enough, consequences don't just hit you, they hit the people around you. And this is where it gets sticky. This is where you can rewrite an entire trajectory for your frequency, for your soul, that becomes very sticky. So essentially, in the collateral damage of the karma you did not focus on, you can then create heavier karma, which you're going to have to be accountable for as things move forward. So when those things that you ignored hit the people around you, when they hit your relationships, your children, your friendships, your emotional stability, your sense of self, your reputation, your future, the hardest part is you have to see the impact on the people you care. You see the hurt you didn't intend. You see the confusion you created. You see the version of yourself that you never wanted to be. And that's where the karma becomes undeniable. Because now you're not just dealing with your own pain, you're dealing with the pain you caused. And not only are you going to have to deal with the pain you caused, you're also going to have to take accountability for the karma that you set in motion in the other individuals around you. Not because you're a bad person, but because you avoided the truth for so long that it became someone else's burden too. And that's the moment the universe says, you can't avoid this anymore. Those around you don't deserve to be put through this. And everything shifts. So let's talk about the 10 solid steps to avoid hitting this wall so that you can find yourself not going down this road, especially at a time on this planet where we are burning through karma very quickly. Everyone you talk to is doing some kind of soul work or emotional work or really trying to heal their past or trying to heal their ancestry lines. We're talking about some heavy shifting on this planet where there is so much accountability taking place. So trying and making sure that you know how to avoid these walls is going to be so important as you move forward and help others around you move forward in their own process too. So let's chat about how to grow faster so your karma doesn't get so loud. These steps are simple. They're not easy, but they're going to save you from the wall. I can guarantee you because I've done them myself several times. Step 1, honor the first signal. The first signal is always the kindest. It's the moment where the growth is optional, but not mandatory. And I've seen this so many times when I am working with clients and somebody has a situation show up and it seems like it's a deep rooted situation for that individual, but it's finally being shown. I always encourage them to work through it in that moment and give them the proper tools. Because as I say, the first time that lesson shows up, that's going to be the softest and easiest you're ever going to see. The second time it shows up, it's going to be a lot more difficult. And the third time, you're going to wish you never did it. So getting it the first time around always makes it easier. Second step, stop pretending you don't know. Your intuition is not subtle. You're not confused. You're avoiding. And when you avoid your truth, the truth turns into a lesson. And the lesson, depending on how you handle it, and if you already started avoiding it, becomes your karma. And that's a tough one to be able to stand up to. Step 3, identify your avoidance style. Everyone has one. Some people it's overthinking, some people it's freezing, some people it's numbing, some people it's staying busy, some people it's caretaking, some people it's denial. All of that is an example of your avoidance style, and it's your karmic trigger. So when you find yourself overdoing any one of those things, then it's you trying to avoid what you need to work on. So if you notice you got really upset over something and then you immediately redirect your attention so that you forget about it, you are avoiding the lesson of looking at why you were upset about that original thing in the first place. If you notice that you sit and you lament and let your mind spin and spin and spin to find answers on something, that's another example that you were just shown something you need to work on and you're trying to rationalize it through so that you can forget about it. So you've got to step in it and you got to walk through it and you got to find the peace in it. Step 4, tell the truth sooner. Truth is the fastest way to dissolve karma. It's actually amusing. Silence is the fastest way to create it. Truth is the fastest way to dissolve it. I've always said to people that I work with, if you want to see if you have karma, and if you want to see if you're creating karma, think of what you're doing and say, would I want this done to me? And if the answer is no, then you have clearly stepped on the karmic wheel. You are clearly at a point where you are going to be dealing with a fallout in some way. And that's why I believe that that core idea is actually in almost every ancient belief system and structure, because it really is a fundamental to know how you move through your lessons quickly, how you make choices during those lessons that are going to be supportive to the souls around you so that you can have a deeper amount of understanding of who you truly are and you can behave with integrity. That's so important. The more integrity you behave with, the more you look at yourself as someone that you would want to be or you would look up to, the more self love you're going to have. So it's the easiest way to really understand the crux of what is necessary in order for you to move forward. So always pay attention. The truth is going to be the fastest way to dissolve karma, even if it's uncomfortable. Step 5, take micro actions before it becomes a macro damage. One small action a day prevents a massive consequence now. So if you recognize I have this brewing within me, in order to work on it, I'm going to make sure I go for daily walks. I'm going to make sure I do some deep breathing. I'm going to make sure that I start to actively find the self-help skills. And there are so many outlets out there that provide you with them now. There's no excuse to not find them yourself and to not really step into it unless you are deeply entrenched with a lack of self-love. You have to step out to care for yourself and to make those decisions and choices and find those outlets. They're everywhere. So you take a small action every day to start to unfoil the reaction that's going on within your mind and the reaction of what you feel. Once you do that, that starts to take the energy away from the karma. Take the energy away from that negative frequency that's flowing within you. The less you focus and build on that negative frequency, the more it's going to dissipate naturally. So, this is a redirection of energy towards more of a healing stance and a self awareness stance. And by doing that, you're going to naturally dissolve that frequency that's brewing within you. Step 6, repair quickly when you cause harm. And this one's huge. Accountability is not humiliation, it's liberation. And if you find yourself having this moment where you know that you did something that's outside of what you would be proud of or outside of how you'd want someone to behave, the faster you take accountability for that, the less of a fallout you're going to have. And I see this a lot in so many different circumstances, especially in terms of relationships that are just family related, where you've got two people in the family fighting, whether they're siblings, whether they're, parent and child, whichever. And as soon as time starts to move forward without that connection, the frequency of that connection shifts very quickly. So, for example, let's say you have two siblings that are fighting and arguing, and they're like, I'm not going to talk to this person anymore. They upset me. I'm done having this conversation. I'm done continuing to do this. Maybe you said some hurtful things. Maybe the situation escalated beyond what you had expected. And then you decide you're going to step away and not speak anymore. Just a couple days of not having accountability on what you did and trying to repair turn into a huge severing of that connection. And then when people continue to move forward and they continue to come from that place of lack of repair and they continue to look at you under that lens without properly understanding or without having that accountability show up for them, it's going to deepen and that wedge is going to get larger. And I think people underestimate when that wedge starts. It's almost impossible to ever go back or to ever make that same connection with that individual once that wedge begins. It's like a fire in the middle of the field. It starts and it burns quickly until it burns everything down, even if you don't understand what's taking place in the moment. Step 7, stop protecting the version that is afraid. Avoidance is loyalty to an outdated identity. Let that version retire. This is very difficult for people because sometimes they'll double down on their actions. They'll say, I absolutely caused that fallout. I unrepairably damaged all of those individuals, but I did it for A, B, or C. And it's always some kind of valiant reason that aligns with that individual's ego and not that individual's soul. Stopping protecting that version of you that created that fallout is a huge part of learning to heal and repair. So I'm going to encourage anyone out there, if you see someone that you know even doing this, hold them accountable. I think a lot of times in our culture, we just are very agreeable and we're like, okay, yep, whatever's going to work for you. I think having more people say, hold on, wait a second, let's look at this from all angles. I understand how you're feeling, but maybe you should look at these things. I think people like that are your strongest teachers and the most powerful people that you could ever be connected with. Those are your true friends. So be aware of that. Be that person for someone if it comes up. Step 8, let the lesson change your behavior. Growth is not insight, growth is action. The learning isn't just in the recognition that I had to change these behaviors, it's in the action of changing the behaviors that caused the effect that matter. So if you look at everything we're talking about, that loop of accountability is really important because you first have to acknowledge all of these different factors. You first have to become aware that, okay, I reacted in this particular way. There were many times I could have learned this lesson prior to this point. Now I'm at the point where I'm at the wall. As I hit the wall, I caused a lot of damage to the people I'm surrounded by and to the people that I care about. So, in that moment, saying, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again? How do I avoid this from becoming my truth or my story or my legacy? That's going to be key because in that process, you're going to learn why you blamed the external environment to the point where you couldn't move forward because the answer is always going to be internal. And I can guarantee you that this whole journey is an internal journey to finding your truth, not the truth of the world around you. We've got science for that, and it's been spinning for years and years with no solid answers. The truth is your inner world, who you are, what makes you proud of you, and how to stand in that clearly. Step 9, accept the consequences without collapse. You created the damage, now own it. This is where you reclaim your integrity. Going around trying to double down on why you did it is not going to make anybody interested in why something like this occurred. You're going to create a lot more distance and you're going to create a lot more fallout around you. But when you accept the consequences and you understand you created this damage, it was avoidable, and you made choices that placed you in it, that level of accountability is going to be what starts to redeem your integrity, not before then. And in order to redeem your integrity, you're going to have to become really honest with yourself about why you did it. You're going to have to become very honest with yourself about the people it affected, how it affected them, and then really honest about the fact that it could have been avoided and it was something that was not necessary. That is a very difficult part because it's the fall of the ego. Many of you may liken this to some of the long concepts that have talked about that ego dissolving period within a soul's time on this planet, or even the dark night of the soul. This is very similar to that as well. So if you are in the middle of going through this, and a lot of us are, a lot of us have been, a lot of us are watching others do this, these keys and steps are so important. Finally, step 10. Move forward with clean energy. Guilt is going to keep you stuck. Integrity moves you forward. Healing the people around you, healing yourself, being able to take accountability, stand in that and take those steps, that's your redemption. The universe doesn't care that you made a mistake. It cares that you learned and you're not going to repeat it. and that you acknowledge your involvement in it. That is how you move through. And that is how you take that wall, those moments of when you are going through a huge lesson, and you turn it into something that is meant for growth as opposed to something that is meant for collapse and a lifelong story of sadness. And you switch it into an incredible opportunity. So here is the truth that most people never hear. The wall is mercy. It's the moment life refuses to let you continue to betray yourself. It's the moment your soul says, "No, we're not doing this anymore." It's the moment you finally become the person you were always meant to be. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's humbling. Yes, it's confronting. But it's also the moment you become free. Because once you face the lessons, the pattern dissolves, the karma clears, the cycle ends, the weight lifts, the clarity returns, and the alignment snaps back into place. And those who truly loved you and you truly loved them, it all falls back into order. It's a beautiful process. The wall isn't the end, it's the beginning. As always, at the end of each episode, I invite you to join me on a guided talk down that is going to mirror everything we talked about in the frequency and the vibration of every episode that we have together, and move through releasing this vibrational frequency within your body and attune to the part of you that's going to move through your karma faster and with ease. Take a slow breath in and let it fall out of your body. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw release. Let your chest open just a little more. You are safe. You are here. You're allowed to slow down. Now bring to mind one thing, just one, that you've been avoiding. Not with shame, not with judgment, just with honesty. Feel where it lives in your body. Maybe it sits in your chest. Maybe it tightens your throat. Maybe it curls into your stomach. Just notice it. Now imagine that avoidance as a wall in front of you. Tall, heavy, solid. A wall you've been walking around, tiptoeing near, pretending not to see. Walk towards it slowly. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the breath in your body. Feel your power returning as you approach it. Place your hand on that wall. Feel its weight. Feel its temperature. And feel the truth of it. I want you to send love to that wall, moving all the way down your hands in the color of a golden light. And watch that light filter throughout that wall. And watch it change. Watch the wall soften. Watch it shift. Watch it reveal what it really is. A door. A door you've been afraid to open. A door that leads to clarity. A door that leads to alignment. A door that leads to a version of you who no longer runs from themselves. Take a deep breath and imagine that door opening. See yourself stepping through it. not with force, not with fear, but honesty. Feel the relief of no longer carrying that avoidance. Feel the lightness of your truth. Feel the integrity of choosing to grow over delay. Feel the alignment of becoming the person who meets your lessons early. You are not here to repeat karmic cycles. You are here to complete them. You're not here to avoid the lessons. You're here to integrate them. You're not here to hit the wall. You're here to walk through the door. And you're not alone. You've got this. Take those steps. You deserve it. Take one more deep breath in and let it all go. And when you're ready, come back to your body, come back to your power, come back to your life. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Jillian Grace Show. I am so grateful for every moment that we spend together each week. And I hope you will take the time to share this podcast with anyone that it can help. And also join me next week. I'll chat with you soon. Let this episode settle into your system. And if someone in your life is moving through their own patterns or stepping into their next level, send this episode to them. The vibration you're integrating becomes stronger when it's shared. And if you feel called, liking the show or leaving a review helps this work to reach people who are meant to find it. I'm Jillian Grace, and I'll meet you in the next episode as we keep rebuilding the blueprint that you were always meant to live from.